this is a great way to find out.
And through these.
So, you are really doing well with these. Jeez. Unbelievable. And I thought I was selfless when it came to promotion, but there you go.
Can you get a stand in a tube just to put it in?
That's a good idea overnight. Do you do big ones? And they come like half gallon.
Will they regulate a lot or less?
Oh, just more.
It's the wee hand button, so you go more.
Aye, more. Aye, to hell with the morphine. Let's get this on. So, the first three sounded fantastic. I've been lucky enough to try most of these already, so I know that you're in for a treat for the second half with the next three. Is back to Georgie.
So before we jump into the fourth one, does anyone have any questions of anything that we've covered so far? Or
Can we have more than the first one?
yeah, more in the first
Second.
one? No.
Can you tell us more about these wee pouches, Georgie?
The pocket pours.
Pocket, but silly of me.
Yes.
So you started off saying that you were really into stories. I like stories as well. And as you go through, what I'd love to know, and I thought the story at the end, the other distillery approached you to want to work with you. But I'm sure you're only approaching distilleries that are making great produce or whatever. What is it in that relationship or in that story that really draws you to them? You know, in that space where, like at the end of the day, as you say, we may like or not like the whiskey, but the story could always sell a whiskey, I think. You know, you buy something because you think it's going to be, try before you don't get to try before you buy most of the time. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious as you go through the next three to hear a bit more about the stories.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, let's start with the next one that we're going to have, which is your middle right place. Thank you.
Middle right.
Middle right.
This will be a good idea.
So, someone asked me before what the numbers mean on the bottle. These are just the release numbers. So this was cask number 19 that we've released. And as I said before, our aim at the Heart Cup is to try and inspire an explorative drinking experience, to partner with distilleries we're excited by, and showcase the whole world of whiskey. And we started with our list of dream distilleries we'd love to partner with. And since we launched, we've been adding more and more distilleries to that list based on feedback. Tastings like this, people going, have you checked out this distillery? Have you checked out that distillery? And always looking with a world map view, going, where in the world is there a really cool whiskey scene? And who should we be working with there to represent that country, right? Now, New Zealand is a place which is very up and coming on the whiskey scene and whiskey landscape. And there are actually a number of distilleries across New Zealand. Waiheke on Waiheke Island, it's doing the most amazing stuff. You can't get their whiskey here right now, but they gave me a little walk through their distillery through like a Zoom call at 6 a.m. the other morning, and it's on Waiheke. Yeah, as you do.
As you do, yeah.
As you do. And it's on Waiheke Island, known for its wineries and honeymoon escapes, and this distillery is just idyllic. It's incredible. But then this next whiskey is actually from Thompson. So, has anyone here had whiskey from Thompson before?
Is it Finn or Thompson Brothers?
No, Thompson.
Oh, as in distillery?
Thompson Distillery.
The only one we've ever tried. We actually had a tasting in here at 9:30 in the morning from the New Zealand Whisky Company.
Yep.
After they closed, and they were doing a kind of world tour.
Yep.
And it was the best 9:30 meeting I've ever had. It was marvellous. So we went on to about 11 o'clock, and the rest of the day wasn't quite as productive as I thought it might be. But that's the only New Zealand whisky I've tried.
Yeah. So Thompson was founded by Matthew Thompson and Rachel Thompson about 2010s again. And Matthew was a hobby distiller, hobby craft brewer, and then got into distilling at home. And he started messing around a little bit with different ingredients and different ways of making a uniquely New Zealand whiskey. And he was the guy that actually pioneered the idea of manuka smoking. He got an old Weber barbecue in his back garden, filled it with manuka wood better known for its honey, put some wet malt on top, and then lit the fire, put the lid down, wrapped the Weber barbecue in some like protective insulating, I think it was like wet cardboard or something, and ended up with a manuka smoked whiskey, which we've actually done as cask number 18. But they also look at how they can talk about New Zealand whiskey landscape in another way, and that's through casks. Now, maturation is just a story of pragmatism, right? Of trying to move whiskey from one place to the next and realizing it tasted better where it ended up than where it started. And it's also a story of what casks were available at the time. Now in Scotland, of course, we see people talking about their wood programs and the different bodegas that they work with over in Spain and the different cooperages they work with in the US, which is brilliant. But when you're in New Zealand, it's really far away, right? So we turn back to pragmatism. Now, who can tell me what else New Zealand from a drinks perspective is known for?
42 below. Wine.
42, who said 42 below?
The Australian. The Australian.
They are, and it is their advertising. Has anyone else seen 42 below? Oh my god, it's amazing. Well done. 42 below is, no, it's an exceptional vodka. It's an exceptional vodka, and their marketing is so like it's like they really what's the word where they like go really far to the line that they're crossing over. It's quite rude, basically.
Quite Antipodean, would you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Quite Antipodean.
But it's amazing. So I used to work at Bacardi, and Bacardi had 42 below. So I'm a big fan of it, a massive fan. What else does New Zealand have apart from 42 below? Wine.
Terrible neighbours.
Terrible neighbours. My cousin.
From a drinks perspective, they also have wine, right? And they've got wineries. Now, Thompson is up just north of Auckland in Riverhead, and they are surrounded by amazing wineries, and they work with them very closely. And again, story of pragmatism. When a winery is done with a cask, they give it over. But what's really cool, even more so, is how these casks are coming to the distillery fresh. So this next whiskey that we're having was actually matured, fully matured, in a fresh New Zealand Pinot Noir cask from Westbrook Winery.
That's why it's pink.
That's why it's pink. And the key word there is fresh. This is a cask that literally held wine one day. The wine was emptied, it was steam cleaned, and because you've got a very tight window when you're using fresh casks, less than 3 days later it was filled with whiskey. The cask and the wood is still wine soaked, and that is why you have this incredible vibrancy to this whiskey. That's why you have that colour, but also why this is just juicy and vibrant and fresh and very different from red wine matured whiskey or wine matured whiskey in Scotland, where we're using dried casks. We've
What kind of wine was it?
Pinot Noir.
Pinot Noir.
Yeah. We've just started working with, so I'm really fascinated by this. There's a couple of things I'm really interested by. One of them is the terroir of smoke, which I spoke about before. And the other thing that I'm really interested by is how whiskey makers and winemakers are working together in these newer whiskey countries where there's already a wine culture. Okay, so that is New Zealand, that's Australia, and we've bottled a couple of casks from Starwood who use fresh casks from the Barossa Valley because it's less than a day's drive away. And also we started working with a distillery in Italy, and this really lovely guy called Enrico. His family makes super Tuscan wine, and he was into distilling, so he built a distillery on site next to the winery. Natural fermentation using terracotta amphora, and then matures his whiskey in super Tuscan and Vinsanto casks from the family winery, which is amazing. But what's really cool about the cider fresh is that because the wood is wine soaked, as soon as the new mixed spirit goes in there, it's not going to extract the tannins because the wood is already full of the wine. So there's this slower interaction between spirit, between wood, between the absorption of flavors from the wood, flavors from the wine, all coming together into one. And you end up with this, which is just juicy and succulent. And for me, this is kind of like spice plum jam and cherries, like juicy black cherries in a glass. And that's the story behind this. That's what this is, exciting and alive, and really does mark, you know, it's uniquely New Zealand. You couldn't make this anywhere else in the world.
Do you know how long it was in the wine for?
Full maturation. So this whiskey it was distilled in June 2019 and bottled in March 2025.
Oh, so it's a long time in wine.
Yeah.
It's not too harsh on the wine.
No,
It's nice.
it's not too harsh because it's fresh.
Yeah.
And it's different. And the way Enrico in Italy was speaking to me about it, because I asked him about the cider fresh, and he was like, well, if you get dried porcini mushrooms and put them in hot water, they're going to absorb the water and clump up straight away. But if you get fresh porcini mushrooms and put them in water, that doesn't happen. And it's the same thing. There's a different extraction of flavour and tannins from the wood. Again, I'm no expert in this, but I'm trying to learn more about it. But I think it's just really interesting.
Is that in North or South Island, Georgie?
So they're in on the North Island.
So it's going to be warmer, they're going to get a wee bit tropical maturation in there.
Yeah, North Island, just north of Auckland. Yeah.
I know it was a daft question, though, but did you say that whiskey is in the wood still wet?
Yeah.
Is that, I don't know that, is that unusual?
What, sorry?
Wood is in the cask and the whiskey's, whiskey is in the cask and the wood's still wet.
Yeah.
Is that unusual?
It is kind of when you're looking at literally, it's usually with wine casks, especially if you're using them somewhere like Scotland, for instance, they will be emptied and then they might be dried and then they're brought over here, right? Or they might be brought over with a little bit of liquid in them.
Yeah, we always try and get them out.
You like fully wet, like full. Yeah, so that's good.
No, but the difference is massive. Oh no, you see the man, well for a start, you can still hear the transportation liquid sloshing about. But no, but you've still got to tip the cask where you know it because there's transportation liquid in there. But you'll know guaranteed, see the minute you pull that bum, the moisture in there is massive. You know, you don't just smell the flavour, you can feel the moisture coming out. Oh,
Kenny, I want to see a photo of you holding.
I've got one in the house, but it's bone dry, so gonna have to go back into the gym before I can do that though.
Is that the same as sherry and bourbon cask as well?
Yeah, well, bourbon casks, a huge amount of the bourbon casks we'll use traditionally in Scotland will come over palletised, they'll be broken down into staves, so they're dry.
Yeah.
They're dry, but ideally if you're wanting a really, really good quality cask, you're wanting it brought over full, leave that transportation liquid there. I mean, you're still, even if they can't say
Which that's what it used to be, right? Yeah. That's what it used to be, because it was used to transport sherry.
Again, story and practice. And that's why that's why they're doing so much sherry and port. Which is wonderful, and that's really great.
White port's a great castle flavour.
And the vibrance, like, look out fresh wine casks. The vibrance is amazing.
No, not yet.
I don't know actually. I'm gonna guess American because it's Pinot and like European oak would be too tannic.
I was going to say, here, one vanilla's going in,
I'm gonna guess it's American. I'm probably got it in my notes here. I'm gonna guess based on the wine type. When we worked with Starwood in Australia, we worked with two casks with them. one French oak, one American oak. Both of them are also fresh. And that's the oak type having how winding is used. The French oak is used for light wine, and the American oak Alright, what do we think of this whiskey? Yeah, Brian?
Really good.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to say.
We can get it in a pouch.
You can. No, this one pairs really well with the chocolate on your table. Yeah. So this one pairs really well with the chocolate on your table. Sorry, I completely forgot to put it there. This one's 51.5%.
Sorry, 51.
Oh yeah, the saltiness was very well.
51.5%.
Very well.
Thank you.
What does the color on the neck represent?
So the colour on the neck,
Yeah.
it's just like a reflection of the label.
And what do they have? Is there like a
We're trying to tell them, yeah, so the design, so with this one, like we wanted it to be the colours of red wine, and we've got the grapes, and we've got QC.
but it's not like a repeating thing that you have that if I see orange,
No.
I wouldn't say anything to me.
They're all different, and the labels like so. This one, that's Mount Rainier, which is in Seattle. So we work with a designer to try and tell a story of the whiskey through the labels.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, that's all right, you ready to move on to the next whiskey? Yeah. Okay, so the fifth whiskey. The fifth whiskey that we're going to have tonight, we're going to kind of jump. So we've had an Irish, an American, two Americans, one from New Zealand. We're actually going to jump to Tel Aviv for this next one. So this is from M&H in Tel Aviv. Also known as used to be known as the Milk and Honey Distillery. And this was the fourth ever cask that we bottled. And we actually went to the distillery to pick this one out. But before everything happened.
Just like wishing.
And we've actually sold out of this one, unfortunately. It's not available in pouch either. But it wasn't, it sold out. It sold out 2 days ago. So had I known it was going to sell out, I wouldn't have put it in the lineup, so I'm sorry, but it's now sold out. But
No, we're glad you did, because then we get to taste
now you get to try
How
it.
many bottlings have you sold out?
Sorry?
How many have you sold out?
So we've sold out of 3, and then 5 more are like 10 away. So we're really close. No, we've sold out of 4, then 5 more are 10 away.
Do you want to tell them which those 5 are in case?
We don't have
Because they're
them.
going to miss out.
We haven't got them here tonight.
Tell them anyway.
So our third release was from Kura. It was a finished rye. Our 5th release, which was from Few Spirits in Chicago. It's a rye finished in a Sauternes cask for 3 years, which is amazing and buttery and tastes like good almond croissants. And then number 6 from the Cotswolds, which is super elegant.
Yep.
And number 8, the sister cask to the St. George Spirits. The other one, we've got like nothing left of it. And then we actually did a single cask from Lockleigh as well. Number 17, fully matured in an ex-Isla cask. It just tastes like baked apples and whipped vanilla cream with like a smoked mold and sea salt on top. And that one's got like less than 50 bottles left. So, yeah, they're dwindling fast.
How did you get a lot of meat?
They don't.
They do know. Depends who you
Lockleigh,
know.
Now they open a private people's
so
program.
Lockleigh said that they only sell to 4 independent bottlers at the
Probably been
moment.
in your assholes.
And we were one of the 4, which was really nice.
We're going down to select ones pretty soon.
Nice. Good. So this one that we're going to have is from M&H, and it was on our original list. And the reason for that is I was at a whiskey show in London a few years back, and I've known Thomas, the distiller from M&H, for years, and he had just brought out an Apex series, which was where he explored different cask types. I know you guys are quite familiar with M&H, right? So, and I tried the pomegranate wine cask that he did, and that show I was just like, oh my god, I couldn't get it out of my head, this whiskey. It was amazing, and I was just like, oh my god, it's pomegranate wine. It's so unique to Tel Aviv and to Israel, and it was incredible. Anyway, so I then emailed Thomas, and I was like, look, Thomas, confidentially, because I was still in corporate, so I was like, look, confidentially, we're starting up the heart cart, this is our ethos, would you sell us a cask? He was like, absolutely. So we went over to Tel Aviv. Has anyone here been to Tel Aviv?
Yep. What we do all at once sometimes.
It's obviously politics, people, separate. It's a really cool city. It's a beach city, and the food is amazing, and the people are incredible, and like the distillery is awesome, and like it's just amazing. So anyway, we went there, and so this whiskey that you've got in your glass is a single malt from M&H. It's fully matured in a pomegranate wine cask, and then it's been partially aged in their warehouse by the Dead Sea.
Oh, wow.
So what's really cool about M&H is that they've got warehouses across all of the different microclimates of Israel, and they recently brought out a terroir series where they explored this in more detail. But they've got a warehouse by the Dead Sea. Now, why is this important? So their angel share, and the temperature, it's hot in Tel Aviv, right? Their angel share in Tel Aviv is 9%. Compared to Scotland, which is 2 to 3%, that's high. Their angel share in their warehouse by the Dead Sea is 25%. Okay?
It's also not a warehouse, it's a cage on a hotel roof, so it has proper sun.
Yeah. So 25%. So this cask this whiskey's only about 4.5 years old, and it's spent 1.5 years of its life maturing by the Dead Sea, the hottest place, the lowest place on earth, like the humidity, it's just crazy. And if you think about it, this ripe, juicy pomegranate wine cask, with that humidity, with that temperature, with the sun beating down, you end up with this super concentrated, super rich, decadent flavor. We got this cask at 67% ABV. We brought it down to 57% ABV, and that's what's in your glass right now.
How was it 67 if it
It
had
was
all
at
that evaporation?
because the
Was
the-
it
A lot of evaporates
alcohol?
less than alcohol and heat.
So it gets
No,
with
I
stronger
get it, but you'd
But-
think it was way lower than that.
No, if you're in a tropical climate,
Yeah.
then water evaporates faster than alcohol, so your alcohol increases in strength. Whereas with what we've got here, alcohol evaporates faster than water,
Sure.
so there's
Another reason
decreases
for
in
Scottish.
strength.
Sure.
So the minute you're in a tropical climate, you're going to get an increase.
Bourbon
Big
has the
increase.
same bourbon.
Yeah.
Bourbon does it as well.
Yeah.
But I think this cask and this whiskey is mega because of the story that it tells. Again, this is a flavour that can't be replicated anywhere else in the world. You know, the use of fresh pomegranate wine cask, amazing. The fact that they've aged it by the Dead Sea. In fact, everything that they do, I think, is just super cool. But yeah, it's now sold out.
The coolest thing they've got in M&H is they've got a beer tap in the still room, which amazed me because when we went to visit, Tal answered the door with a beer in his hand. And he went, come in, I've not seen you for ages. Do you want tea, coffee, water? I'm like, fuck off, you're holding a beer. Well, we'll get into that. And we get into the still house, and genuinely there's like a big stainless steel table with pint glasses and a font in the middle of it. And you just go and pour your own beer. I'm like, what's that? And Tomer went, it gets hot in here. No wonder we are still battered to buggery because the forklift driver's half cut off.
No, but something else, yeah.
I think this whiskey is incredible. Our tasting notes on this one was medjool dates, salted caramel and cherry pie, and it does have that sticky, thick, viscous, the mouthfeel. Now over here I got asked a really good question earlier, which was like, all of these are so different, it makes us ask the question, what is whiskey, right? Because actually, when we usually think of whiskey, we think of this sort of flavour area here. You've had so far 5, we're about to go on to the 6th one, 5, like chalk and cheese whiskies. Not one of them has been the same, but all of them have been made the same way. And all of them have followed the whiskey steps, you know, grain, malting, mashing, fermentation, distillation. The variables are the people, the variables are the yeast, the variables are the pragmatism, the casks that are available, the humidity, the local peat and the landscape and how that can be used. And I just think it's so exciting that this is what, again, having had a whole career in whiskey, this is what excites me, is how you can just taste through so many different flavours in such a unique way. And that's not to say I don't love Scotch. In fact, as I said, I was on a shopping trip to Òran Mór, and I drove down from there this morning in that rain. Has anyone here been to Òran Mór or Nickean?
Yeah.
Twins.
Oh my god, it's like the most magical place I've ever been to in...
Not the fullest to get to.
No, but like, honestly, the drive, I was just listening to a lot of like Bon Iver and like King Creosote on the drive up, which wasn't good because every time I saw something beautiful, I was like close to tears and getting out of car, and like all the tourists taking photos. All my photos are of rocks. I look back in my phone and it's just like rocks.
On the plus point, because of the weather, very little midge problem. There you go.
So yeah, that's what we're about with the hot cup. Yes.
I will make a statement and then I'll ask you the question.
My love shooting was.
So you know that thing when people say I'm going to ask you a question? So no, actually what I was going to say is, my favourite thing about private bottlings is, or bottlers like yourselves, is that, you know, funnily enough, this is no longer available. So, you know, but whether you like it or not, this might be one of the last times anybody gets to drink this in a group. So I always find that really interesting. You made a reference earlier on though, to, you know, you walk away, you go to a distillery, you maybe get 3 or 4 samples. Can you actually remember, you know, what about the samples you left behind? You know, why this one and not the other? You know, this one's brilliant and beautiful. I'm sure the other ones were really, really interesting. I'm curious a little bit more about that process of why you pick the one you do. You spoke about your team of tasters, and Kenny, I'm sure you can add to that as well. How do you make that decision, both business-wise and taste-wise and personally? Or stay away from the personal?
No, really good question. So when we start speaking with a distillery, we give them 3, we give them a brief, and we give them 3 areas. One is around flavour, one is on price, and one is on timeline. It sounds really unsexy. It's like,
But you need to give them a framework.
yes, it's a framework. So, working backwards, timeline will say, right, we want to release this in May, so we're going to need the cask by January, so we're going to need something that's ready to ship by however long. And if we're working with a distillery in New Zealand, well, that's a 2 to 3 month shipping window, right? Compared to...
So you never re-rack?
No.
Okay.
You never what?
Re-rack.
Oh, you're right.
Just
I'll come on to that in a minute.
Yeah, ready means.
Yep, I will come on to that in a sec. So, you know, we're always bearing the timeline in mind. So we need when we need it ready by, when the whiskey's going to be tasting great for. The next one is price. So we want to make sure that our whiskies are accessible in terms of pricing. So we'll say, right, if your standard release or your expression is at like 60, then this is a single cask, so we'll bottle it just a little bit higher. So we'll work back and say, well, then the whiskey needs to cost X amount in the cask, and that will then also take out. So each time we're trying to narrow down the funnel of what they have in their warehouse, right? And then the third, but actually the most important one, is flavour. will say, right, we really love this element of the other whiskies that you have within the range. We love this part of your story that we want to talk about. So what is the education point? What's the story? What's the flavour that we love about that distillery that made us fall in love with that distillery that we want to put forward, right? And so when you put all of those three factors combined, you take their cask, availability from this to this to this to this, right? And then usually we'll either visit the distillery and do it on site like I did at Òran Mór, or they'll send us samples. Mainly because with 2 young kids we can't travel everywhere just to try something at a distillery, and also we all know that things taste significantly better when you're trying it in a warehouse, right? We do need to try it actually, and in fact I do most of my whiskey tasting at like 8:39 in the morning, right? Been to the gym, kids are at nursery, Fab's gone to the gym, I haven't had a coffee yet, my palate is fresh, I'm awake, I'm not tired, and I'll taste and spit. I'm not actually drinking but analysing. It's very different. And it's during then that we'll start thinking about the different casks. So with the 4 that I have from Òran Mór, for instance, as a good example, I've got these 4 because each one is slightly different. Each one is very different from what they've put out themselves and also what other independent bottlers have put out. And they're all a different way of telling a different story from different casks, different peating levels, etc., etc. I'll try them, and Fab and I will try them, and we'll say, right, we really like these 2, and then we'll put them out to our tasting panel. Or if we're dead set on one, then that's great. So, for people we're speaking to in Italy, the guy, Fab's parents, his dad is Italian, they live in Italy. They sent his parents samples. They brought them over, they pretended in their little carry-on bag. And one is a Vinsanto cask and one has been matured in a Super Tuscan cask. Because we spoke to him and we said we want to tell a story about what's unique to your distillery through these casks. Each one of them tells a different story, each one is different, but in our heads we're thinking, what are we most excited by and just what tastes good? So yeah. Does that kind of answer your question? Yeah.
And just for the sake of it, Steph, we are the complete flip-floppers. other than drinking at 8 o'clock in the morning.
No,
I don't spit it out
whiskey,
because I'm a bloody animal.
So Georgie, do you know, so about the whole spitting thing,
True.
I've noticed that there are a lot of whiskies that first of all you can get some off notes after you really swallow them. But if you drink I think that a young Stoisha Bunnahaven is a very good example. It has, for me personally, when I drink a Stoisha, there's like I'm going to say a disgusting feeling here. Like in the back of my throat that you won't get from just like swirling and spitting it.
Yeah.
So fear that you're going to miss a large portion of the experience
if I'm spitting in the morning.
Yeah.
No, because I then try it later on at night.
Okay.
Full, yes.
So
Okay.
when we're trying all of these casks, and before we make a decision, we try them about 7-8 times in different scenarios.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll first try them in the morning, then I'll try them later on and actually drink them, and then I'll try them on a different day, and then I'll try them outside of home, maybe in a bar with different friends. So we're trying them consistently. So I won't make a decision there and then being like, that's what I like. But it gives me, I suppose it gives me a good like back of the postcard part sketch of like what I like about it, and then I'll try them again later on. Yeah. But no, it's a good question. And you asked something earlier, you were like, do you not re-rack, do you refill? We don't do that. Every independent bottler is different out there, and each one has their own signature and they do different things. We buy our casks when they're ready to go. Each cask is a collaboration between us and that distillery. And that's actually why our labels are split in half, to show that collaboration, to show that we only buy our casks directly from our distilleries, right? Other independent bottlers will finish, they'll re-rack, they'll buy new make spirit and mature it themselves, and that's wonderful. Each person has their own signature. Our signature and what we're showcasing to the world is the breadth and the collaborative aspect.
But then you're basically you're unable to create a stock for yourself.
but we're not looking to do that right now. And also, our startup, we're 2 years
Yeah.
old. I don't have the cash flow for that.
It takes money, though. And when folk are only buying pouches, she's getting their money.
I haven't seen your order come through yet. How am I supposed to buy stock? Right, should we move on to the last whiskey? I realised the time. I'm so sorry. Do you even realise I couldn't talk? Right, we're going to go to the last whiskey. And this is where the toffee popcorn comes into play.
We have finished our jar now?
No.
This, for me, is the most incredible cask. So this last one is from Fielden. Has anyone had anything from Fielden before? Yeah, once. Amazing. Okay, I'll reframe the question. Has anyone had anything from the Oxford Artisan Distillery, also known as Toad? Rye whiskey.
Very nice.
Very nice. Good. Good. Keep that frame of reference in your head. So, this is from Fielden. This cask. They used to be called the Oxford Artisan Distillery, and it was a distillery just outside of Oxford that unfortunately has closed in recent years. You might realise there's a
Watch this space.
Oh.
I'll tell you in a minute.
Insider info.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, ooh.
You maybe stop bottling those cars, just keep them.
Yeah, juicy. So the distillery was founded, and they worked quite closely with some of their team at Oxford University and some of the farmers in the area. And then a few years back, they decided to turn their gaze from the gleam of the stillhouse into the fields themselves. And their whole thing now is about, if you have fields full of life, then you've got whiskey full of flavour, right? And the whole thing is like regenerative farming, clover cover, stuff that I'm not educated enough to talk about, to be honest with you, and I'm not going to try and bullshit my way through it. But they're basically putting a lot of work back into the grains and the fields and working directly with farmers. Now, Fielden at the moment, a beautiful bottle if you've seen it, really lovely gold sort of like circle on the front label. Very expensive to do that gold on the label, I'll tell you now.
They don't have pouches.
So, their whiskey is usually about 65-70% rye. This single cask is 100% rye, made up of 75% landrace unmalted rye and 25% floor malted rye from Warminster, which is England's oldest malting. It was originally matured in new American oak before being finished for 2 years and 4 months in a 45-year-old ex-Solera Oloroso cask from a bodega in San Luca de Barrameda, which is the coastal tip of the Sherry Triangle. And in San Luca, you have the Atlantic winds blowing through the bodega windows. San Luca is known for its more maritime-y, mineralic sherries like Manzanilla, that comes from there. And so what's amazing about this cask is that when you taste it, you get a touch of spice from the rye. You then get a caramelized nut note that comes through from the Oloroso, and then you get a minerality and a salinity, an actual salted caramel character. And that's coming from the fact that the cask spent literally 45 years in a Solera holding Oloroso in San Luca. So this is a huge whiskey to end on. When we started speaking with the Fielden team and with Charlie from Fielden, the rest of the team found out we were speaking to him, and at every opportunity they were like, you have to ask Charlie about cask 292. And it came up again and again and again about this particular cask. And when we finally got to try it, one, we were told it was big, 600 litres, which is big, right? But two, we tried it, and like then and there we were like, this is so good, this is the cask for us. And actually this is the only time that we've been given one sample, and it's been the one straight away. There was no shopping around, this was the cask. And I don't know about you, it might be to your taste, it might not be to your taste, but this tastes for me like a boozy Oloroso, and that's why I think it's incredible. And it pairs really, really well with the toffee popcorn that you've got in front of you too. So.
It's interesting because, like, in the mindset that I personally come to a whiskey tasting, it doesn't fit into this mindset. Like, I came with like flavor filters, let's call it, what I am willing to accept today as flavors that I can taste in a whiskey tasting. And even if it's good or bad, it doesn't fall into the criteria of whiskey. It's like boozy sherry, as you said. So it's very confusing. So I keep going back to understand, how do I feel about it? Not even if I like it or like, how do I feel about what I'm
And
drinking?
how do you feel about it?
Sorry?
How do you feel about it?
But it's there's the solidity of Tanzania that doesn't work for me personally.
That's fine. That's fine.
The salinity of Manzanilla, the
Whereas for me, I'm not a big fan of sherry cask whiskies. I like big sherry bottles. I don't like them, they're not to my palate. But
always or the
this-
modern ones. 'Cause
Sorry?
so that's going back to what you said about the fresh casks.
Yeah.
So if you're drinking a sherry bomb from a fresh cask, like it's supposed, like it was
Yeah,
supposed
like
to
it's
be, right?
supposed to.
It's different. If
Yeah,
you're drinking from a
exactly.
seasoned cask, then here's
But too many
Teresa.
people are seasoning.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like whiskies like Dalmore, that's not for me. I don't like that big sherry flavour. I'm not into it.
Lots of it is coloured sherry flavour, it's not even real.
No, I know, but it's not. And again, we all like different things. But this, I love sherry. I've been to Jerez like 4 times. I went on my hen do there. And this, for me, honestly, just tastes like a boozy Oloroso. And it has that texture and the weight, and I like the salinity. But then, as I said at the very beginning, you might not like all of these, but you'll definitely find them interesting.
Yeah.
And they'll definitely make you think. And you'll have discussions about them, and whiskey is there for that. So, yeah.
And do you like all of the 6? Like, and I'm not saying it from like it's weird. Like when
She
you
likes all
because
of the 21.
yeah, because you do have a wide spectrum there.
Yeah, I do. I do.
What happens if you like something and your husband doesn't like it, or the other way around? When you still both like it?
He's wrong.
We know the answer to that.
No, what's the like,
Door, you're married too. Do you know how it works?
Just want to make sure I'm doing it right.
no, we'll talk through the flavour, and as I said, like if one of us really likes one and one of us really likes the other, then we'll call on our tasting panel and we'll try and get opinions from them, and we'll talk through them, and we'll talk about, well, where would this cask fit within the range, what is it trying to tell a story of, and then we'll sort of go on it based off of that. But yeah, I usually win. No, it's very good. Honestly, Fab is amazing. I'll get a DPD notification being like, your samples have been delivered, and literally 2 minutes later, he'll be sending a picture, and he'll be like, so I really like this one, and I really like this one, and I'm not sure about this one, and I'm like, literally had these two, like you could have been in the middle of something else, and the box is ripped open. It's amazing. So, any last questions?
Can we have some more?